this video is about OET Reading Part B. So this video is going to be extremely important if you are preparing for the OET exam because we are breaking down Reading Part B. And trust me, this is the section most students underestimate. They think it's short text, should be easy. But then what happens? They run out of time, they get confused between options, and they lose marks easily, right? So today I'm going to show you the exact structure, what skills are actually tested, smart strategies and exam style examples, and how to think like a high scorer. Okay, so let's simplify this. In OET Reading Part B, the task structure looks like this. You get 6 short workplace text. Each text is around 100 to 150 words and each text has one question. So each question has 3 options A, B, C. Total 6 questions, 6 marks. Remember, you have 45 minutes for Part B and Part C combined. So realistically, you should spend about 10 to 12 minutes on Part B. Okay. What kind of text you will be getting? Remember, these are healthcare workplace texts like emails, notices, guidelines, memos, policies. And here you're getting tested not on vocabulary, not on grammar. You're getting tested on understanding of purpose, main idea, specific detail, attitude, or intention. Okay? And let me tell you what actually happens and why students lose marks. Students read like this. They read word by word. They read very slowly and they try to understand everything. And suddenly they get panicked. Or worse, they choose an option that sounds correct. But in OET, the correct answer is not the one that sounds nice. It is the one that matches the text exactly. Okay? And here are some of the high scoring strategies that I'm going to give you. The first strategy is question first. Never start by reading the text. First, you have to read the question because the question tells you what to look for, where you have to focus. Okay? And then the second one, you have to scan. Don't read fully because you don't need to understand everything, right? You need to scan for keywords from the question. Example of the question says, what is the main purpose? Then you need to look for the opening lines, you need to look for the tone, you need to look for the key message. And the third strategy is paraphrase matching. This is very important. This is the biggest skill. Okay, so the text will say staff for advice to report any incidents immediately. And the options will say employees should inform management about issues without delay. Same meaning, but different words, right? So you have to be aware of the paraphrasing techniques. And the fourth strategy is elimination is greater than selection. Yes, don't try to find the correct answer first. You have to eliminate the wrong ones because usually one option equals to clearly wrong, one option equals to partially correct, and one option fully correct. So don't guess immediately. Okay? And the fifth strategy is don't overthink. Students lose marks because they think too much. If it is not clearly supported by the text, then it is wrong, right? So now let's look at the text here. You can just pause the video, go through the text, and then I'll tell you what you are supposed to do with. Now here the question is, what is the primary purpose of this notice? And you are getting the options as to inform staff about recent audit findings in detail, to stress the importance of timely and accurate documentation practices, and option C, to outline the disciplinary procedures for non-compliant staff. Now, let me tell you the correct option. The correct option is option B, to stress the importance of timely and accurate documentation practices. I'll tell you why. Remember the main purpose. That means the overall message, right? Not one sentences, not one detail. If you look at the text, it talks about completing documentation immediately. And it mentions delays causing problems. It mentions accuracy. It mentions consequences. So the core idea is documentation must be timely plus accurate. And if you see the option here, option A, why it is wrong? Because to inform staff about recent audit findings in detail. Yes, if you have seen the text, audits are mentioned, but is the whole text explaining audit findings? No, it's only one supporting point. Okay, and why option C is also wrong? Disciplinary action is mentioned, but that's not the main focus. It's just a warning at the end. Okay, that's why option B is correct. And the second question is, according to the notice, what has been a consequence of delayed documentation? And the three options are given here. Let me tell you the correct option. The correct option is breakdowns in communication affecting patient care. Now, I'll tell you how to think. So, this is not the main idea, right? This is a specific detail. So, again, you have to go back to the exact line here. Delays in documentation have contributed to communication breakdowns. Can you see here? Delays in documentation have contributed to communication breakdowns affecting patient outcomes. Got it? So that's why option B is correct. I'll tell you why option A is wrong. So option A, it talks about increased workload for supervisors, right? Nowhere mentioned here. So this is just a made up idea. And option C, errors in hospital policy implementation, again not mentioned anywhere. So obviously option B is the right option. What does the writer mention? That supervisors will be monitoring compliance? You can go through the three options and try to come up with the correct options now. Don't think what is written, you have to ask, why did the writer include this? So if you go back and look at the text, supervisors will be monitoring compliance more closely. Then you have to ask yourself, why mentioned, right? Why this has been mentioned? Not to explain monitoring systems, not to comfort the staff. It is to create pressure and seriousness, right? If you take option A, this one is wrong because there is no supportive tone here. It's more of warning, not comforting. And option C, here, this one is monitoring to explain how audits are conducted in the hospital. Monitoring doesn't mean that audit explanation, right? So option B is the right answer. Now, remember the critical question types. You'll be getting the main purpose. That means what is the overall message. So you have to focus on the first line, repeated ideas. In case if you are getting the question about the specific detail, for example, what does the text say about so and so, then you need to focus on the exact line, no assumptions. Okay. And if you are getting the question about the writer's intention, then you have to think, why was this written, in order to identify the writer's intention. So you have to focus on the tone and the context. Then if it comes to implication, what can be understood indirectly, right? So your focus should be on meaning between lines. Got it? Now let me give you some advanced tips. Remember to treat each text like a mini diagnosis. Question equal to symptom, text equal to patient, answer equal to diagnosis. Okay, so don't trust your memory, always go back to the text. You have to watch for trap options, same words but wrong meaning, half correct answers, so you have to be really careful. Now if you're thinking like, I read everything slowly and still get confused, then you have to read the question first, then you need to scan it. Sometimes all options look correct, but you have to choose the one fully supported, not partially. Okay? And if you are thinking and choosing like, I chose this because it sounds good, no, don't do that. You should only choose if you can prove it from the text. So, text based evidence is more important. Okay, so let me say this very clearly. OET reading part B is not about English level, it is about speed, accuracy, and decision making. That's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more OET tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.